Great. So I want to start this off today by introducing you all to my mom, because in a lot of ways, she was kind of the inspiration for this talk to begin with. My mom is a lot of things. She is an attorney. She's a world traveler. She most recently became a grandmother. But there are some things that she definitely is not. She, for example, is not exactly what you call tech savvy. If she saw that I posted this text, she would kill me. And she definitely is not what you would consider to be a designer. And apparently that's okay because she's got me to do it for her. For the past year and a half, she's actually been nagging me to redesign her website. And I'm a terrible daughter, and I just never got around to it. And she finally just gave up and designed the damn thing herself. She went on Squarespace or Wix, and it actually looked pretty good. It was scary, but it was a moment for me to step back and say, whoa, I do this for a living. So what does it mean when even my mom can be a designer? It's also something we see in our professional lives too, right? Those clients that used to seem so completely clueless about design, all of a sudden they're throwing around words like AA accessibility, digital ecosystems, the list goes on. It's crazy. Sometimes I have to even stop and Google it myself. What are we even calling it these days? Is it minimum delightful product, minimum lovable product? It can be hard to keep track.
And obviously also, everyone in this room is expert in design too. So what gives us the right to be on stage today? So what makes us the experts? Is it the title, maybe years of experience, a school degree? And at the end of the day, everyone in this room could check off most of those boxes too. So we realized that everyone here could be on the stage too, just because everyone has become a high-class design expert. So?
Fantasy's been at the forefront of the design industry for the past 2 decades. In fact, we just celebrated our 20-year anniversary in June. And you know, in this industry, that's a really long time. But for us, it was also a pivotal moment. It was a time to kind of step back and reassess because, as we all know, what worked well 20 years ago in design is not guaranteed to work well today. But it was also kind of a big deal, right? This is a big milestone for us, so we flew our entire team out from across the world to come together and celebrate. We went hiking, we climbed mountains, we even shot bows and arrows, and we definitely threw back a couple of drinks here and there. But I think the real reason that we came together was to talk about our strategy and start to define the next step in our evolution as a company. So that's what we're here to talk about today, George and I. We're going to talk about how we've reframed our strategic and creative approach to basically to stay relevant in an age when design expertise is more accessible than ever. So execution is not enough. In an age when good design is becoming par for the course, when a slick-looking mobile app or a good-looking website is going to become a dime a dozen, it's more important than ever that our strategy be just as strong as our execution. That we're not only delivering the amazing design that they expect of us, but that we're actually able to help reframe problems and get to the root of a bigger challenge. How many people in this room today have bought something on Amazon in like the past week or two? Show of hands. Obviously. And how many people got that delivered in, say, 2 days or less? We are super lucky because if we lived in Sweden or Denmark or Finland or Norway, Amazon wouldn't be an option. And 5-day delivery is actually considered pretty good. It's kind of terrifying. But when Elkship came to us, they knew this. They knew that Amazon was coming, and they asked us, we need help to redesign our website. So we helped them kind of improve their design language, evolve for the digital age, and help them prepare for Amazon, which, as they referred to it, they would just say, winter is coming, which was kind of scary. And we helped them, you know, of course, improve their user experience. We streamlined the entire website. But before we did any of that, we did this. This is not sexy. This is not super exciting, or what you probably came to see here today. But we helped them basically map out an entire 6-month, or rather spent 6 months mapping out a digital strategy towards a larger digital transformation. We helped them look beyond the e-commerce site that they had asked for, and we helped them see the entire end-to-end omni-channel experience. Because at the end of the day, if you're up against Amazon, a good website is not going to be enough to keep you relevant. And the last thing we did is we helped them actually map this onto a larger strategic roadmap that was going to be actionable. We broke it into small actionable pieces so that they could actually realize their vision and make it happen. I'm sure a lot of you know Match.com. They came to us asking to redesign their mobile app. They wanted something fresh, something new, something to stay relevant. And the weird thing about Match is they actually already own most of the large dating apps out there. So they own Tinder, OkCupid, Plenty of Fish. And in a lot of ways, they felt like, well, hey, we're the design experts. We already know exactly what we need. We'll just take a feature from this one and a feature from that one, and boom, we're going to be relevant again. And we had to help them kind of realize that, like, what works for Tinder is probably not going to work well for Match. You have to think about the unique user needs and challenges that your team is facing. And so we help them think about things like, how do you start a conversation with a complete stranger and actually end up getting a date out of it? How do you give feedback when you get a match that you don't like so that next time you get a better one? How do we help people discover new people? Because if any of you don't live in New York and you live in a small town, there's actually a really good chance that you're going to run out of matches. And finally, how do we help people at the end of the day fit into a busy schedule? These were not things that they had asked us for, but they were so happy that we delivered it and kind of challenged them and pushed them to think beyond. But strategy is not just a phase at the beginning of the design process. It's really something that we can also apply to an engagement overall. And this leads us to phase 2. And I'm sure everybody here knows phase 2. It's where all of the cool ideas, all of the fun stuff, all of your hopes and dreams end up getting pushed out to. Got an idea? We'll do that in phase 2. We'll do that later. But it's also usually the first thing at the end of the day to get cut, right? It's kind of, sometimes it seems like good ideas, or rather phase 2 is where good ideas go to die. But it's not because they're not good ideas. It's because nobody knows what phase 2 is yet. Nobody's actually seen it, really. It's just something we've talked about, a bullet point at the end of a deck. And it's really something that is a hypothetical for most people. So that's why at Fantasy, we've basically made the strategic decision to commit to designing for phase 2 during phase 1. This means that we're going to put a little bit of extra investment. Instead of paying for an entire team to drum up some sexy pitch work for a client that we don't totally know or a problem we don't exactly understand, we'd rather put that investment towards what's going to set us apart. And for us, we believe that's our work. We'd rather do that and let our work sell in additional work, build a larger relationship, and create a larger strategic roadmap. And so I'll show you an example of this. When Royal Caribbean asked us to redesign their deck maps, this was what they had. Definitely not great. This is what they expected. And we could have easily done this, right? You could do this in your sleep, and they would have been pretty happy with it. But instead, we spent the extra 40 hours or so for a designer to push a little bit further, to push beyond, and give them something that looked a little closer to this, something that got to a level of detail that we thought we could be really proud of. There's a freaking octopus slide on this thing. This was not what they asked for, but it's what we delivered. And then we delivered just a little bit more. It was this little extra investment that changed us from doing a project that was just about a couple of deck maps to redesigning the entire 50 ships for 3 different sub-brands across our company. We could have really waited, honestly, to sell this in after the fact. We could have just, tried to pitch it in, sell it in as new business, but instead, we let our vision speak for itself. And the great thing is that, again, we didn't have to pitch for new work. Once we finished this mobile app, we were able to we had inspired their confidence, and we were already able to basically come in and design the rest of their end-to-end experience. We got to the point where we were able to touch every single facet of this, from an elevator panel to TV UI to AR and VR experiences to stateroom automation to control lights from your phone. Bell is one of the largest helicopter manufacturers in the company, and they came to us asking for something super familiar, help us bring our products to life, whatever that means. And so we did. We started here. We streamlined their experience. We helped pull out features. We helped kind of add some nice visuals that were definitely lacking. We made it easy to compare. But then we ended up here because we knew bringing a product to life means a lot more than just a nice landing page or product detail page. It's about seeing the thing in action, seeing it from all of different angles, being able to, again, add those nice little micro interactions that really bring everything to life. Even to the extent that you can see what it's like to be inside of the helicopter itself, or compare and shop easily online. So the cool thing was that, again, this little extra investment, we obviously didn't do all of this day one, but by showing a glimpse of this, we were able to sell in not only the experience that our designers really wanted to do, but also additional tracks of work. So now we're helping them reimagine the future of mobility. Who knew that was something? And we're also able to help them kind of open the door to larger things like product configurators. Again, that extra little investment, of course, we have to do what the clients ask. Otherwise, we won't get paid. But again, by just doing that little tiny bit more, we're able to see exponential returns. Not everybody can do this. It takes a strategic commitment from the top down, right? At Fantasy, we know that we are not only expected, but empowered to actually go that extra mile and push beyond. And that's not something you get everywhere. But I'll leave you with this. It's about focusing not on projects, but on relationships. About thinking how you can grow to a larger strategic vision and put in that little extra effort. Whether it's a few days of user testing, lending a hand for a big presentation for your client, putting together a marketing budget, this is what pays off. And this is how we've actually used our creativity to do more, to build relationships. Now I'm going to hand it to George, because he gets to do the fun stuff.
Thank you, Jackie. I think that was also fun. All right, so in a time when everyone around us is suddenly a design expert, when the apps and websites are actually copying each other, and when we can be easily kicked out from the industry by AI or Jackie's mom just in a few years, we need to make sure that our creative approach is appropriate. All right, so we'll start with this, and I'm sure you never thought that you will hear or see a mathematical equation at a design conference, but let me be a nerd just for a little bit. So this is a formula of creativity. I'm sure everybody is using it, right? Okay. But just if you forgot, I will remind you. So this is a formula of creativity which Dean Simonton, an American psychologist and scientist, has invented to measure your idea's creativity potential. So his formula has 3 variables. The first variable, P, is the idea's initial probability, how likely it is that someone else will come up with the same solution. U is the idea final utility, so how useful will be your idea at the end. And V is the creator's prior knowledge of the utility. And each variable has a value between 0 and 1, when 1 is 100%. So obviously, the potential of creativity will be lower if your knowledge of the task you are working on will be equal or close to 100. Do you guys follow what I'm saying? So I will simplify it for you. So basically what Dean Simonton is saying is that the less you know, the more creative you can be. So here a quick example. If you guys are watching American football, you probably notice that the majority of TV UIs are looking almost the same. And Fox Sports came to us and asked us to redesign their legendary Foxbox. And they were looking for something completely different, for a complete breakthrough, something which is not existing on the market right now. So at that time, I was part of the creative team, and I have never ever in my life watched any American football game. So you can notice that that's from my accent. I'm not from here, so I'm not American. I never ever in my life watched this. I don't know. I had no clue what the rules were and how does this interface work, how to read this interface. And besides the professional Fox Sports design team, we had on our side 2 designers. One of them was an actual college football player, and the second was me. So we came up with something like this, where you can see that it works and functions, and it is structured completely differently from what you've seen before. And I don't know how many people here are familiar with the game, but you see that it looks different. And it's easier to understand even for somebody who is new to the game, because the information just belongs where it should belong. And of course, the old interface could not be swapped with the new one overnight, just because it's like way too new, and the professional football watchers, they won't understand it from the first sight. But that was a great exercise for us and for the Fox Sports team to get out of a rut and come up with something completely new. That could be a beginning of something. So, and I was intentionally put on this project just because I had no idea about the game. And that takes us to the next topic, the power of healthy insecurity. One of my favorite architects, Frank Gehry, was saying, if you are confident enough about what you're going to do, most likely this is a bad idea. This is a nice thought, I think. A good designer never settles with the first idea that comes to his mind. Moreover, he can't even rely on his prior experience to a large extent anymore. The ability to work on the unknown, to risk, to improvise, this is what will keep us relevant in a time when everyone around us is suddenly a design expert. And as an agency, we work a lot on creative pitches, and we know how crucial it might be to be insecure, to question, to keep looking for more creative solutions than your competitors. So on the next few slides, I'm going to show you some iterations of look and feel for an app we were working on recently. And unfortunately, because of the NDA, I cannot really show you the final result before it's launched. But I just want to illustrate what does it mean to never settle with the first result. So we start with something like this, which looks pretty trendy, and I would say it will probably grab some attention on Dribbble and get some likes, but not in real life, right? So we kept iterating and came up with something more classic, something like that. But we kept iterating, came up with something more warm, and then with something more editorial, and then with something more with a depth, something transparent, something more colorful, and then we try something black, something white, something black and white, something boxy, something not too boxy, maybe something more artistic. So overall, we did over 20 different iterations for the same app until we got to the point where we were satisfied as designers with the result, the client was satisfied with the result, and hopefully, and the most important, is that you, as the future consumer, will be satisfied with the result when the app will be launched. So the takeaway here is that never settle with the first idea, even though it looked kind of cool. All right, but there's a downside. Working at fast and high pace, in which nearly all agencies in New York work, there's always a risk in turning your work into routine, in creating an environment where there's no place for innovation, no place for personal growth, and no place for joy. And designers, they burn out quickly, they don't see the point of their work, and they leave. And I'm sure that in this room, there might be some people who are experiencing the same problem, right? But there's the good news. There's a simple solution to your problem. We need to shift our mindset from relentless execution to continual learning. This is a very simple but very important thought. We just need to stop relentlessly executing work and start using it in our best interest. This is what will keep us motivated, keep us innovating, and will keep also maintain the positive energy within the team without, despite the high pace of work. So a part of our kickoff meetings, we are not only defining the scope, the goals, the timeline, and stuff like this. We're also defining one of the most valuable parts of the project. What are we going to learn? So at Fantasy, we've designed a lot of interfaces for TV, like TV interfaces like Google Fiber, LG, what was that? Roku TV, DirecTV, a lot of things. So it might seem that we really know what to do here. But on the next project, what could we do differently? And more important, how could we stay motivated while doing basically the same thing over and over again? So back in 2017, Fubo TV came to us and asked us to redesign and rebrand their upcoming sports streaming platform. So we could just use our prior knowledge of creating TV interfaces and come up with something more like standard, or what we've done before. But instead, we've set ourselves new goals for learning. So first of all, we had to work on rebranding, which was also like very challenging for us as an interactive agency. So we came up with something more recognizable for their logo. We came up with something for the typography and also for colors. And then we redesigned the framework from scratch and came up with something very different from what we've done before and from what at that time was available on Apple Store. And we've came up with a vertical navigation which helped us to simplify such a complex content like category navigation, list of streamings, and calendar on the same page. And of course, we worked closely with the developers to make sure that everything works the way it should work. And we had so much fun on this project because we were lucky to learn a lot and grow personally and as designers. So even despite our very crazy high pace of work, we've been able also to come up with something like this, some fun experiences for an error pages, which hopefully nobody will see. But we wanted to entertain users while they're experiencing an issue and add some human factor to an interface. And speaking about human factors in interfaces, the majority of interfaces we are using right now are treating ourselves like robots, whose goal is to load and unload data. So we think that this is a very heartless exchange. So an interface should not necessarily be a repetition of other interfaces on the market. An interface should not necessarily have the same form, have the same flow, and the same best practices. And an interface should not necessarily be designed from the same aspect that we've seen before. The notion of what the traditional interface solution is what we are trying to constantly question. Like in the next example from our recent pitch for Marc Jacob. So Marc Jacob, he is a fashion designer, and looks like he's well known for his creative and very awesome collections. And looks like in his collections, he don't have any boundaries at all. Look at this. So why should we have any boundaries? So we've come up with a different shopping experience when you can navigate the PLP horizontally, like if you would flip through the fashion magazine, so without hiding any juicy parts behind any boxes. And Marc Jacobs is also well known for his runway collections, which you can purchase straight from the website. So we've come up with something like this, where we mimic the actual runway experience. When you scroll down the page, the models pass by, as well as the related clothing in that column on the right, which you can purchase right away. So is that actually the best practice? Probably not, but that might be your competitive advantage. All right, so we will leave you with this. In a time when everyone around us is suddenly a design expert, when the competition is as high as ever before, when the old get shit done paradigm is not working anymore, we need to do a couple of things. First, we need to revise our relationships with the clients, regardless of whether we are a freelancers or a studio. We need to stop relying on our prior authority in design industry and become comfortable with our own insecurity. And finally, we need to shift our mindset to continue learning.
And we can stand here today and make it look easy, but in reality, change takes time. It takes time to transform a business or build a relationship or just come up with a good idea. So we're going to end on a high note and show you something that took us a very long time. In fact, it took us 4 years, I think, to find a new logo typeface that we felt truly embodied fantasy. So here we go.
Let's take a look. Sound? Sound? It's too loud. It's very quiet.
One more time.
One more time. It took us 4 years. I told you. All right.
Let's go! Cause I'm feeling like I'm running and I'm feeling like I gotta get away. Better know that I don't and I won't ever stop. Cause you know I gotta win every day. She really wanna pop me. Just know that you will never flop me. And I know that I gotta be a little cocky. You ain't never gonna stop me. Every time I come, a nigga gotta set it, then I gotta go, and then I gotta get it, then I gotta blow, and then I gotta shut it. Any little thing a nigga think that he be doing, cause it doesn't matter, cause I'm gonna dead it. Then I'm gonna murder everything and anything about a boom, about a bing. I gotta do a lot of things to make it clearer to a couple niggas that I always win, and then I gotta get it again and again and again. And I be doing it to death, and now I move a little foul. Nigga better call a ref, and everybody know my style. Niggas know that I'm the best when it come to doing this, and I be banging on my chest, and I'm banging the east, and I'm banging in the West, and I cannot give you more, and I would never give you less. You will hear it in the street, or you can read it in the press. Do you really wanna know what's next? Let's go. See the way we on it, and we all up in the race, and you know we gotta go now, try to keep up with the pace, and we struggling and hustling to set it and to get it, and we always gotta do it, take it to another place, gotta taste it, and I gotta grab it, and I gotta cut all through this traffic just to be at the top of the throne, but I know I gotta have it, have it.
Look at me now, look at me now, oh. I'm getting paper, look at me now, oh. Look at me now, yeah. Fresh to the mouth. Okay. Okay. Is that right? I'm fresher than a moth.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.